What's going on, guys? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, and today I'm going to be doing a crash course in the Steve Donziger and Chevron case. Thanks to you guys for pointing this out. It wasn't something that I had known anything about until I started getting comments and started seeing it on other shows. And I have done my research now, and I thought I would just kind of lay out what exactly this case is all about and why it's so important. So, what does it showcase? This is the perfect example of how very large corporations can absolutely rig our legal system. And in this case, they rigged it to go after an activist slash environmental lawyer who won a big settlement against them. So the pretext for this whole case is Chevron was they had an oil leak in Ecuador a decade ago or so, and it was really, really bad, and all the stuff that they were doing was awful, and it was destroying the indigenous lands there. So it was getting into waterways, and Chevron was doing this on purpose. They just didn't care, and it was causing a lot of these indigenous farmers not to have any water to drink, bathe in, or fish in. So Steve Donziger broke this case, and he was the lawyer that tried Chevron on basically the cancer rates went up like tremendously because of all the oil that was getting dumped into these people's waterways, and he actually won the case. It was over a $9 billion settlement to the 30,000 farmers in Ecuador. Now Chevron avoided, if I'm not mistaken, they avoided paying the settlement, saying that for some reason Donziger was racketeering and profiting off of the case. And then they came back to the United States, and for the last decade, they have been relentlessly trying to smear him, tar and feathering him in our legal system. And they've been rigging it in such a way where they own the judge that is presiding over Donziger's current case, which is a bogus case to begin with. And they also have made it so that a private firm that is prosecuting Donziger they also work for Chevron, they're bought and paid for by Chevron. So it's crazy. The prosecutor going after him is bought and paid for by Chevron, and instead of it going into a federal court where it was dismissed, it's been being tried privately with a judge paid for by Chevron, who's it has donations, or I forget exactly how they're linked, but it's I forget exactly how they're linked, the judge. I'm going to read it to you here. But they also have the prosecutor in their back pocket. So it's the most rigged system I've ever seen in terms of they just want to ruin Steve Donziger's life and make sure that he doesn't get any exposure. So I'm going to read to you here real quickly from RT. The prosecution of environmental lawyer Steve Donziger, who helped Ecuadorian victims of Chevron leaks seek compensations, shows the threat corporate involvement in the U.S. justice system poses to all, his supporters have warned. Donziger is currently being tried for criminal contempt of court, and his defense has little doubt that he will receive a guilty verdict. Supporters of the lawyer see the case as little more than a revenge campaign by oil giant Chevron. So the contempt of court thing, under the first time he was being investigated, really not legitly, that first judge I was telling you about, his name was, I forget what his name is exactly. He said that Donziger must, I think it was a racketeering case, right? So they said that he must turn over his laptop and his computer files, basically just harassing Donziger. And he says, I can't do that. I can't violate my attorney-client confidentiality and give you all of those files. I'm not going to do that. So then that same judge ruled that he was in contempt of that first judge's statement. So he's in contempt of court for something that the first judge said. That's circular. It's the same judge doing the same thing, basically saying, you do what we say or we're going to hold you in contempt of court. And ever since he's been held in contempt of court, he's been on house arrest for over 2 years. Now, if he were actually found guilty of what they were going after him for, the maximum sentence would be 6 months. But they did it this way, holding him in contempt, because they know that they can keep him on house arrest like this basically indefinitely. But I go on. A decade ago, Donziger helped 30,000 people in Ecuador secure a court ruling that awarded a multi-billion-dollar settlement for environmental damage caused by the drilling. The corporation maneuvered to avoid paying the damages, instead going after the lawyer and his clients. Now listen to this. Part of the Chevron's strategy to avoid paying the Ecuadorians was to accuse Donziger and his clients of racketeering, claiming the original ruling was obtained illegally. Judge Lewis Kaplan, that's his name, Lewis Kaplan, of the District Court for the Southern District of New York passed a guilty verdict in 2014 on racketeering. Among other things, he ordered Donziger to hand over communications with his clients to Chevron's lawyers. Donziger refused, arguing that it would violate client-attorney privileges and give the company insight into their legal strategy as they sought ways to go after its assets in various jurisdictions. Chevron pressed on, accusing Donziger of criminal contempt of court. The case is heard in the same federal district court in Lower Manhattan, but the prosecutor in the case is notably not working for the corresponding federal prosecutor's office, which refused to take the case. So it wasn't taken by the federal prosecutor, meaning the government. So it got passed off to this private firm, which Chevron basically owns. It goes on to say that here. In an irregular move, Rita Glavin was appointed to take the role by Judge Kaplan. She's a private lawyer working for a firm that has a connection with the oil giant, which prompted Donziger's defense team to dub her a Chevron prosecutor. So, this is really important, you guys. Donziger is being held pre-trial for up to 2 years, and it's still counting. All because Chevron bought the judge, bought a second judge. They paid somebody $2 million to say that they saw Donziger taking bribes from an Ecuadorian judge, or giving bribes to an Ecuadorian judge to give him the ruling that he wanted. That is all untrue, and Donziger alleges, and I haven't seen the proof on this, but he knows that $2 million was given to this person, and they did testify against him. Chevron's pulling all the fast ones that they can to ruin Donziger's life for this $9.5 billion settlement, because they know that if it turns out that Donziger is exonerated, likely they'll have to pay that settlement. It's a smear campaign to take him down so that they can avoid paying the near $10 billion that Donziger has already won in court for the Ecuadorians. So I know that's a lot to digest here. And you know me, guys, I'm all about solutions as best I can. I'm going to tell you that what you need to do to help Steve Donziger. You can go to Donziger Defense. I think let me find his website here. The other thing that you can do is you can go and look up Merrick Garland's information, and I'll put up a link in the description box. He's the Attorney General, and you need to insist to him either on a message in his phone or an email that he needs to take this case away from the private Chevron prosecutor and really do it himself as the Attorney General to make sure that he gets a fair trial, Donziger. Okay? So that's what we can do, is we can get on Merrick Garland to take this case. And then let's see if it is DonzigerDefense.com. Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah, it's DonzigerDefense.com. I will put that in the description box below as well. You can go there and donate to help him defend himself, because he's going to need our help. Chevron is one of the most powerful corporations in the world, and they want his life ruined. So we can do something. DonzigerDefense.com, and go to Merrick Garland's website. I'll post it below, and send him an email telling him to take the Donziger case away from the Chevron prosecutors. Thanks, guys. Keep fighting the good fight out there. I'll see you later.